Hello everybody and welcome back to the show. It's the end of the week. It's a Friday morning and yes, you're watching Good Morning Sri Lanka, tuned into MTV Sports with me Vasam, and I have the pleasure to co-host the show with Sam.
Hello everybody, good morning. And it's been a little bit of a while since we hosted a show together.
Yeah, it's been a few weeks, hasn't it?
It's been
but
a
of course,
few
I know, Sam, I've always loved to do a show with you. I keep telling everybody, and I'm glad on a Friday morning that we are going to do this together. And of course, the weekend's coming up, so if people have had a stressful week, they've got the entire weekend to chill out. And it is the beginning of the month and lots of expectations, I think, ahead. But before that, I need to ask you this question, Sam.
Yes.
What really stresses you out?
Well, when I can't find something really nice to eat, that stresses me out. Work stresses me out. When I have a really bad hair day, that stresses me out. Yeah, lots of things stress me out. When people steal my pens at work, that stresses me out.
Well, you don't have to worry about that this morning because I think your hair looks fabulous.
Thank you.
And I think the makeup artist has done a good job with it.
Gee, thank you.
So it's not just you, alright? We need to give them the credit as well.
That's true.
Yeah, so, well, talking about stress, I mean, there are little things that actually stress all of us out. Sometimes can argue that some people don't even really know what stress really means. We were talking to a few interesting doctors a little while ago just before we opened the show, and that's something that they said. But this morning we are going to dedicate the show on finding out what stress is and how we can manage it. And of course, we, as usual, have two wonderful guests in the studio. Sam, would you like to introduce them?
Yes, we have Dr. Romesh Jayasinghe from the Institute of Mental Health. Good morning, sir, and thank you so much for joining us. Vaza?
And we have Dr. Gamani Premathilaka, who's a consultant psychiatrist. And also, Dr. Romesh is a psychotherapist, Sam. And also a topic which has kind of interested me for some time now, and he's also a hypnotherapist, so it's actually a pleasure to have a psychotherapist and a psychiatrist. Actually, this is a question I asked you, Dr. Romesh. I mean, we've had psychologists on the show, we've had psychiatrists on the show, but very rarely do I come across a psychotherapist. What is that actually?
Well, a psychotherapist is not a medically trained professional. A psychotherapist is also a mental health professional, and there is a difference between a psychotherapist and a psychologist. Now, a psychologist can play the role of a psychotherapist, can function as a psychotherapist, and even psychiatrists sometimes do play the role of a psychotherapist, even though they are medically trained. And a psychotherapist does not have to be medically trained.
Okay.
That's the difference.
I see. So we do have a psychotherapist as well as a psychiatrist, and actually let's point out the first most important question of this morning, Sam, to our psychiatrist, Dr. Premathilaka. Doctor, what is stress really?
Yeah, I think before I go to the stressful thing, you asked about this psychotherapy.
Yeah.
I think in Sri Lanka, most of the people use the word counselor. Of course, these are not the same, but in Sri Lanka, I think we can consider both counseling and psychotherapy as the same thing, because this is the British and the American concepts. Anyway, so that's about. Then, to define stress is the most stressful thing. That's what I hate. Because nowadays, I think from the time we came here, we have been misusing the word stress. Because ultimately, everything is stress. Really, in one way, they say we can conceptualize it in two ways. One is called a stressor. Stressor means from the environment, whatever it is, maybe the weather, or as you said, anything can be a stressor as such. And then we have what is called the strain, or that is the response. I think really the most important thing is not the stressor but the response, because to the same stressor different people can respond in different ways. So therefore, more important than the stressor is the response. And really speaking, they say it's better to consider this as a transaction, whereas, I mean, to put the two together as a sort of a process. So in this process you find the stressor and the strain, and when these two are together we can call it a stress. And also remember that there's something called a good stress and a bad stress, because usually most of the people think stress is a bad thing.
Yes.
So therefore you have to be careful in using this word. That's what I hate, to avoid this word stress, because it's so misused.
I see.
when you, just to go into the terminology of good stress and bad stress, because lay people, for us, if we feel bad, we just say, okay, we just feel stressed out, and it's a very negative connotation the word has. What exactly is good stress, and how can stress be good? So if you could
Now, for example, let's say if you are facing, or you are given an opportunity, maybe a new job role,
okay,
a new project, which can give you a lot of benefits. At the same time, that opportunity is challenging.
yes,
It's demanding. So that kind of opportunity can have both the good stress and the bad stress in it. And it depends on what you look at. See, you can see that opportunity or that particular challenge as something positive, as something that can motivate you. So in that sense, that is considered to be good stress. But if you see it as something difficult, as something that you can't achieve, as something that will create a lot of difficulties for you, then you are interpreting that event or that opportunity as a negative stress. So it depends on how you see it also.
I see. And also we were discussing on what stress is, but I mean, you said there's good stress, there's bad stress. Now how do you identify stress?
Right.
So again, going back to good stress and bad stress, I think now if the amount of stress, if there's only little stress, that is good. When it is too much, it is bad.
but when do you know it's too much?
Yeah, that again, as I said, depends from person to person. Now, for instance, for the exams, if you don't have the stress, you don't study at all.
So that is a good stress.
Yeah, that's a good.
That's good stress.
No,
All right.
if you don't have it, I don't know whether it's good or bad, but then at least if you have little stress, then you will be study. On the other hand, if it is too much, then you can't go and sit for the exam. Even now during the exam time, sometimes we get clients coming for it because they have been studying so much and all, suddenly they go blank. So that is too much of stress. So that is the bad stress.
So when it becomes dysfunctional, when you become dysfunctional, it's only then that it's bad stress, is it, doctor?
That is right. Really, I think even in medicine, that's what we call an illness is when it affects you or when it controls you.
Okay.
Otherwise, as long as you are in control, then that is normal or that is okay.
I see.
I see. So Dr. Jayasinghe, coming back to the same question I asked, how do you identify stress?
Yes. Now, stress is normally a physical and an emotional reaction to a situation that you perceive as dangerous, challenging, demanding, threatening. So you can actually feel the stress in your body. Okay, you can actually feel it. You can feel it sometimes in your mind or in your brain. You can, because there are various hormones involved with stress, like cortisol and adrenaline. There are hormones released when you are under high stress.
Okay,
so
I thought adrenaline was something that you feel when you're like in a rush and you're excited and...
Yes, so anyway, when you have high levels of stress, you have that kind of adrenaline rush kind of thing. And then you have, adrenaline is not so bad, but cortisol is a really bad hormone that, as Dr. Premathilaka said earlier, prepares you for what is called the fight or flight response. Okay, so the stress reaction is sometimes called the fight or flight response.
I see.
Doctor, if you could elaborate on that, on what flight or fight response is.
Yeah, I think this is something which we have, maybe as animals, which we have developed maybe from the past. It's very important for our survival. Now, for instance, if we meet with an obstacle, we can do two things. So we look at, for instance, if it is an animal, we can say, we will look at the size of the animal. If it is something like a mosquito, we can kill. Or on the other hand, if it is like a big tiger, then we have to run. So this is the only way we have to survive, right? So for both these, really, what are the organs or what are the parts of your body which are important? It is the limbs. So really what happens is, the body reacts in a certain way so that maximum energy is given to the limbs. So all these things increase heart rate, increase blood pressure, increase sugar level, and these hormones are the coordinators. They only help in this process. So therefore it is very important. But unfortunately in the so-called civilized society, we are not expected to kill the other person, or we are not expected to run away. So what we have to do is really to bottle it up. So but inside the body the hormones are produced. So that's what they say, if you have long chronic stress, that's why they say it's connected now. This stress can cause so many disorders, like even asthma or high blood pressure or ulcerative colitis or gastritis, various things, because these changes are there, the hormones are there. So what we say is, if there is chronic or long-standing stress, it can cause these illnesses.
Dr. Jayasinghe,
Yes.
something which you said and which I picked on, you said that adrenaline rush and adrenaline rush can basically lead to stress. And now people say when you're nervous, it's because of this rush.
Yes.
Is that true?
That's right.
So people also say that, you know, certain people have this view that being nervous is a bad thing, and certain people say that before performance or something, if you're nervous, that's really good because the rush is going to give you energy and you're going to be great.
Right.
Is that true?
Yes,
Or
again,
is nervousness
yes.
also some sort of stress?
Yes, again it comes back to the discussion we had earlier about the good stress and the bad stress. Now adrenaline rush can be both good and bad. It can give you the energy level, you know, the motivation level, the confidence level to face a particular challenge or situation. And at the same time, if that challenge is not there really, or if you don't face that situation, that adrenaline rush can become toxic.
Okay.
Okay, it can convert into toxic,
Alright.
into a toxic effect, into a harmful effect in your body. And in the long term, if you have this kind of adrenaline rushes in your body every day or a long period of time, then this can convert or manifest in terms of disease,
Okay.
both physiological disease, physical disease, as well as mental disorders.
I see.
Yes.
Dr. Jayasinghe, on that point,
Yes.
we've been discussing a lot about the biological aspect of stress. If you could touch on like the psychological reactions to stress and
Yes.
how we can identify ourselves when we're emotionally stressed out.
Right. Now there are a lot of physiological and psychological reactions that we can identify. Now, for example, when you're under high stress, you might feel uncomfortable. You might get aches and pains in various parts of the body.
Physiological
Yeah,
things.
physiological.
Okay.
You see, you might feel pains in your back, in your shoulders, neck pains, various body pains,
So
and so on.
these can be defined as symptoms.
Symptoms, yeah, of stress. And then you have various, it affects your digestive system. It can cause gastritis or acidity. Then you might get headaches. You see, it can affect your concentration levels.
Okay.
You might not be able to concentrate properly, make proper decisions. Stress can also affect your sleeping habits, your eating habits. It can affect your moods. So you might become moody. You see, you might get angry, for example. Or you might have a lot of anxiety. Can cause anxiety, a kind of fear kind of reaction. It can also lead to panic attacks and things like that at one extreme level. So stress can, in the long term, cause, as Dr. Prematilaka said, can cause a lot of disorders or diseases, physical diseases like eczema, which is a skin disease. It can cause irritable bowel syndrome, which is a disorder of the digestive system. You can have asthma, and you can have ulcers in the intestines, and all kinds of diseases. High levels of blood pressure, cholesterol levels can go up, your bad cholesterol, your blood sugar levels can go up,
Okay.
so you can become diabetic.
I see.
So there are a
It's
lot of,
quite deadly actually.
well, yes, in the long term, if a person is exposed to chronic stress, long term stress, and to severe levels of stress, it can end up leading to a heart attack, or that is other cardiovascular disorders. It can also lead to a stroke.
Okay.
Yes, so it can actually kill you. Stress can go to an extreme level, to an extent where it can actually kill you.
I see.
Yes.
Okay, well, we've been talking a lot about stress, and when we do come back after a short break, we're going to talk a lot about stress management, how it really affects people, how we can come over it. So don't go away, lots more with these doctors, very knowledgeable doctors. But before we do go for a short break, I just want to remind you, if you do want to interact with us, you can log into Facebook. It's our URL is www.facebook.com/goodmorningsrilanka. So next time you log in to your PC, tablet or mobile phone, make sure you go and type in www.facebook.com/goodmorningsrilanka, and don't forget to like us. You can post your views, give us your feedback, and we will definitely get back to you. Or you can email us or at
MTV
that is
Sports?
mtvsports@maharaja.lk. That's mtvsports@maharaja.lk. Gonna go for a short break, and when we do come back, lots more about stress management.